Hi guys, what's up? My name is David and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about something that is a big passion of mine. So let's get into it, shall we? Today I want to talk about Viking symbols that are actually not Viking at all. And before I get into it, I just want to say I study Scandinavian studies and my biggest interest and passion is the reception of the Viking Age in later times. So these Viking symbols is like exactly my area of interest and expertise. But also, before I actually start speaking about these symbols, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with them. Like, I know there's other videos around on the internet saying how bad it is to use these symbols because they're not historically accurate and blah blah blah. And I personally don't think something has to be real Viking in order to be cool. Things can be not Viking, things can be Viking inspired and still be cool. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, there are different types of categories when it comes to these symbols, and I'm going to use three of these categories to show you how different types of non-Viking symbols exist within popular culture. So the first obvious category is symbols that have been labeled as Viking but are not Viking at all. Then there is a second, more nuanced category where there is a possibility for a specific symbol to have existed during the Viking Age, but the proof we have of it is from later times. And then the third category is symbols that actually did exist to an extent in the Viking Age, but got completely different new meanings attached to them in later periods. So let me start with the first category and the most popular, most obvious non-Viking symbol, the Vegvisir. Now, when you Google the Vegvisir, it gives you the text ancient Norse symbol. And see, this is where the misinformation starts. If you don't read up on things like this, you will think that this is a real ancient Norse symbol, but it's not that ancient, really. So, once again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this symbol. I've been in love with this symbol since I was like 12, 13. I used to draw it on my hand, and now I have it tattooed. So, like I said, I don't see anything wrong with them. It's just that it's not Viking. So, Iceland has this amazing site called 100.is where you can find a lot of scans of manuscripts. And this symbol, the Vegvisir, was first attested in the Holt manuscript from 1860. Yeah, 1860. So that's not really that old, to be honest. And there are no earlier attestations than 1860. So, I mean, it's still old. It's like 150 years. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty young symbol. And another aspect of it is that it's not pagan. These Viking symbols are generally used within Norse pagan environments, but this symbol, along with other symbols that I will mention, is actually more Christian than pagan. So, first of all, it was written down in a Christian time period by a Christian person, and although it does have some Viking Age elements to it, like it's clearly based on runes, but it's also clearly based on Solomonic seals, which are Judeo Christian magic. So it's actually more Christian than pagan. And I know a lot of people will not like to hear this, but yeah, Christian occult symbols are pretty prominent and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they are not pagan. And of course, some actual Viking symbols are also not pagan because the introduction of Christianity to Scandinavia happened in the Viking Age. So yeah, this symbol, not Viking, has not seen the Viking Age, does not mean it's not a cool symbol. I like it a lot, personally. The second one, now this belongs to the category dubious origins, did it exist, did it not exist in the Viking Age, is the Helm of Awe, or the Eyjashjálmur. So this one is pretty similar to the Vegvisir, but its first attestation is a bit older. It's found in a manuscript from 1670, so that's already almost 200 years before the Vegvisir. It's found in the manuscript called Categorizing. I'll put a picture of it. I love this Icelandic site. It's amazing. If you ever need like inspiration for tattoos, just go look through all these manuscripts, see the symbols, look up what their meanings are, and just enjoy. But anyways, although the oldest attestation of the actual symbol is from 1670, there have been mentions of a helm of awe or helm of terror in older materials, such as the Volsunga saga, which is about the Volsung family, Sigurd the Dragon Slayer and stuff, and also in Reginsmol and Fafnismol, which are also connected to this story because Regin is the blacksmith from this story, and Fafnir is the dragon from the story, and the Helm of Awe is supposed to be an object rescued from the hoard of the dragon Fafnir. So it doesn't seem to be a symbol. There are theories that it was an actual helmet, but for some reason in the early modern period it turned into a symbol. And it's widely used on things labeled Viking or Old Norse. And once again, it is not Old Norse, and it is most likely also inspired by Judeo Christian magical symbols like Solomonic seals. Another symbol, or rather a group of symbols that are technically Viking, but also not used in the same way as they used to be in the Viking Age, are bind runes. So bind runes within Norse neo-paganism and like Viking tattoos, stuff like that, are used to convey some sort of magical meaning. Like they're supposed to be a connection of the meanings of different runes, but these runic meanings are reconstructions or more like inventions from a later period when people thought that the Futhark, the runic alphabet, was some kind of magical alphabet, but there is no consensus on whether runes were actually magical or not. Like, yeah, there's the origin story of Odin hanging himself from the tree to get knowledge from the runes, but most people just assume that it was an alphabet. Just like the word abracadabra is magical, but that doesn't mean the Latin alphabet is magical. It's just that the specific combination of these letters can form a magical word. And the thing with bind runes, they do exist in the Viking Age. They are found on many different runestones, and they're mostly just used either to save space or for decorative purposes. So sometimes words are shortened if they have double consonants. They just put the two letters into one, or just merge letters. Or sometimes there's these weird bind runes that look like a Christmas tree, like the runestone in the historical museum in Stockholm. Why not? So yeah, while these symbols are technically Viking, they're not used in the same way as they would have been in the Viking Age. Of course, when it comes to the term Viking symbols, what is Viking? Even if we are not sure about the exact etymology of the word Viking, we know that it refers to these people who left Scandinavia to go raiding or trading. So why is everything else that happened inside of Scandinavia still called Viking? Like, technically, these people had nothing to do with Vikings. They were just late Iron Age Scandinavians. So even the term Viking symbol as referring to a symbol from the Viking Age could be questioned, but that's a story for a whole nother video. So those are the three main symbols or categories of symbols that I wanted to focus on. Of course, there are many others that are used, and there's one symbol that is actually Viking, but for some reason people say that it's not Viking, and it's the Valknut. It's this triangle shape, and this is again a thing like with the bind runes, is that it's now used in spiritual ways or whatever, while archaeologists and historians are not really sure what it meant exactly, but it is found on many objects from the Viking Age, like the picture stones from Gotland. But yeah, it could mean several different things. So yeah, that is a Viking symbol. And of course, a whole another category when it comes to these symbols that are being wrongly used are Celtic symbols that are labeled as Viking, although there was a high degree of cultural exchange between the Celts and the Vikings, because the Vikings went to England and Ireland, so of course they had connections and the art styles actually merged. But sometimes when you go on like Pinterest or stuff and you type in Viking symbols, you get a lot of triquetras or other Celtic symbols that are just not Viking at all. although they could have been from the same time period, but they're still not Viking because they're not of Scandinavian origin. And another thing that is wrongly used as Viking is the wrong Futhark. So the Futhark is the runic alphabet, and the alphabet that was used in the Viking Age was the younger Futhark, which had 16 runes. It was shortened. People are not sure why, but it was an interesting linguistic development that happened in the Viking Age. But because it's easier to transliterate English words, for example, into older Futhark because it has 24 characters, people use that to be Viking runes, even though they're not Viking. Once again, that doesn't make it any less cool. I think pre-Viking Age Scandinavia and post-Viking Age Scandinavia are just as interesting as the Viking Age because the Viking Age only lasted for like 200 years. So there's a lot more to it. I mean, I don't study Scandinavian studies for nothing, But yeah, so there are a lot of things and a lot of different types of things that are classified as Viking for no apparent reason. So if you plan to, for example, get a tattoo of any symbol that is claiming to be Viking, please do your research. Once again, there's nothing wrong with getting them tattooed. Like I said, I have a Vegvisir tattooed. I have the Elder Futhark tattooed. I know these symbols are not Viking, and that's okay for me. Like, it doesn't have to be Viking to be cool, and we need to stop thinking that that is somehow the case. So yeah, that's everything I had to say for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like me to make a video about symbols that actually are Viking, please let me know down below in the comments. I will be more than happy to do that. If you're still watching this video, I don't know, comment something. You can choose whatever it is. I just would love to have a bit more interaction, positive interaction. If you even somewhat enjoyed this video, please make sure to give a thumbs up. And if you really, really, really like this video, consider subscribing to my channel. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. I saw you can share QR codes recently, so here's a QR code. You can scan this with your phone if you're watching this on a laptop or TV, and you can go directly to my Instagram. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.